Whoa. My bad.
I mean, what do you what?
All right, here's the question. I'm being asked a question. And, okay, I'll take it. Go ahead.
Around 1987.
Okay.
In the fall.
In the fall.
87.
Going into 88.
Do you have any memories that you would like to share with me from then?
Yeah. 1987.
Yes, pick a memory that you would like to share.
In the fall.
Yes, the fall of 87.
Going into 88, which I think the beginning of 88 was also when they had the Democratic National Convention in Atlanta. And I was living La Vida Loca. I had this little light-skinned Detroit chick living with me. I was working at Sensations on Covington Road as the assistant entertainment director for the nightclub. There was a $40 million club with some drug good boys from down south or something that unbelievable. We had 6 bars. We had stage that you could put 2 bands and it would revolve around. We had they play videos and 70 TVs come out the ceiling. I mean, this is... And I was living La Vida Loca to the point where I had old girl. She's working the front door. She finally came out and told me how she was skimming money because she was the only girl that all of the other drug dudes trusted to count all the money every damn night. I mean, it was so much. We counted so much money we had to get manicures 2-3 times a week because, yeah, it was so much. This was... People were I'd be at the bars, overlooking security and stuff, and there were players from every place in the country that all had to come to that one place to shine, that would get there and want to find their little couple of seats.
Right.
Every week. And I would meet these guys. And it got to the point where I used to come up by way of, I'd work at night and I'd meet all these dealers and stuff. And I'd go down to the pawn shop. And this is, and a lot of them, were right by the jail. And we've known each other, and I'd like to go down there and get my music equipment. And so they was like, hey, man, I'd go in there, and every week, some of the people that you were working, that you saw come into the club the week before, their jewelry would be in one of those, and you'd be like, I just saw that on somebody. Yeah, they just brought that in here so they can get back home. So we used to always joke about, at that time, it was like, yeah, come visit George and leave on probation kind of thing, or whatnot. But it was also so frequent with people coming in with that kind of money and leaving it, trying to get the hell out of it. We were like, yeah, people love that place. It's like the Roach Motel, and it was more of a Roach Motel then, to the point where people don't want to talk about the personal experience. If they were during that age, no more than baby boomers, don't want to talk about when they were back in the 50s and 60s and, how they used to get high and fucking... I was in Atlanta.
Okay.
And I mean, I was in Atlanta. I mean, my aunt, I'm my aunt's favorite nephew, and she owned the Pink Fox Salon in the West End. It used to be across the street from the Sears. I'm talking always, baby, don't you want to be a preacher? But I'm living La Vida Loca. I got more money and stuff just flying through. I'm playing music with these bands. I'm singing. I'm doing poetry. I'm at this thing. I'm also working at this AV company. I'm the everything guy somewhere. So wherever I was with somebody and they stopped being where they were, I would go off to that same level of hype in something else while they would go home. You know what I'm saying? And then see me as the same person the next day at work. And not really, be able to, and damn, man, you like the same everywhere. You don't stop, and I'm like, yeah, and life at 1987 you said the fall?
Yeah, fall.
Was right in that ooh of it. You know what I'm saying? And it was right as the point where I was really about to transition from being all in players world into being into this tech industry, this,
Okay.
and not just knowing how
Transitioning.
to be, ooh, I'm a security, ooh, I'm a guy, ooh, I'm this and another, but knowing how it works to keep it working from a big distance. Everybody could be a one little thing. Somebody could be a light guy, and they just into that and into that. But when you're somebody that can see things all the way down to where the next fight's going to be, where this is just that and the other, all these other things at the same time, where it always continuously, so by the end of the night, you know what I'm saying? It's a done deal, and everybody's like, wow, I can't believe we survived it. And you're like, me neither. Without having to take, I worked at places where I would be with people all the way up until they about to get arrested. And then I'm off into something else. And so when I see these people again, as they were fighting through their big charges and and whatnot, they'd always see you at the bar. Hey, how you doing, my man? This, that, and the other. I mean, this is also when even Magic Mike was like, hey man, why don't you leave your girl and come on over here and work at the strip club? We got these chicks and they all making 2,000 and plus this, that, and the other. He says, man, and it's like Poe pimping, managing a strip club, because you're not getting something from them, but you're getting something from them, but you're also, making sure that if you're on this floor and you're in here, you're going to get, what we need to have popping, and then, and understand that, look, anytime you're ready to tap out, there's 5 more people that would love to have that spot and this, that, and the other, and there's a lot to come from it. And we learned this thing. I learned this concept called frenzy. And I saw when he was teaching me this, he says, man, these girls, they can make money so much that they can make money and have a hot streak of 34, 48 hours, 72 hours. Well, they just make thousands and thousands. And it makes them in a frenzy where, being that they're getting so much money and everything from these men. And all they have to do is be sexual. They get to the point where you're driving down the roads, cop stops them, they get undressed. Can I do this for you, officer, so I can get out? I'm sorry, I wasn't going over that far over the speed limit. It's just that I'm so wet. And this, that, and the other, and then she ended up with a gay guy. And then she pissed. Frenzy. Frenzy is like, I'm sitting there, and he says, okay, so I'm sitting there, and I go in one weekend, just, to be second shift dude on a weekday. And he told me about this frenzy, and I'd heard about it. And I see it with my own eyes. This chick comes in, and she's one of the newer ones, and she's getting it. And she's getting it because she's new, and she's getting it. And you can tell that she's been on it since she left. And so she's coming in, and she got a little bag, and she's late. And all I'm supposed to do is say, you're late. That's a $75 fine. You need to get your ass in here and get dressed so you can get out on the floor because you have to pay that first. That's it. I say this, and old girl gets to the bottom of the steps, drops her bags, walks over to me, hits her knees, unzips my pants, and pulls my shit out and starts going to work. And when I mean work, I mean like, RuPaul, you better work. It was work. I was like, goddamn, before I could say goddamn good. This other, other veteran chick, she comes walking down, she late. And I say, you late too. That's the sudden she's like, oh, hell no, I ain't gonna suck your dick to get out no fight. I said, she ain't even. At that moment, I will never forget the look on this woman's face with my dick in her mouth and full chub going to work. And then all of a sudden realizing when I said what I said, oh, man. And with that moment, she just said blink and got up, walked over, grabbed her bags, and then the girl was like, girl, what the fuck is wrong with you? Let's get in here and get dressed and get there. What the fuck is wrong with you, girl? You must have had it all night. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm still sitting in this hallway with my shit going out there with my dick going, where did they go? Where did they go? And I'm sitting there and it's like, boom. And so for the rest of the night, I was up in there with damn near one of those half Lionel Richie, hello, is it me you're looking for? But she out there making that griller. And every time I would look at her, just waiting for her to say something about the mere fact that I was like, I wonder if you washed your mouth before you walked up and talked to people with my dick in your mouth, because and how many more dicks did you, I guess it don't matter. Well, go ahead, but it changed a lot of the understandings as a man as to what complicates them and their ability to make more money as money gets made. Because it happens in everything else around you and you to a point where just the audacity of other people finding the audacity to judge or to like, it was not too long after then that, I had to, like, some people didn't make the cut. I mean, I've got like an ex-baby mama and whatnot that I loved their kids and the whole nine, but there was nothing in the world that prepared me for catching up with her 20 years later, 30 years later, and then 20 years later, and only to find out, damn, so when I left and did all this shit all around the world and whatnot, you basically, with all that you was doing and this, that, and the other, decided you was going to be a career crackhead? I mean, to the point where even the kids were saying, you just don't even want to see her. I mean, it's really bad. I mean, how bad? I mean, bad like she's bad in Alabama bad. And this, that, and the other, she's like, she got no teeth in her. She's got elephantitis everywhere and this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, stop playing. I mean, I'm just sitting, yeah. And then listen to him to the point where after we had our talk, you know that there was a moment in their time where they sat back and as they decided to fall off the boat one more time, they had a heart attack and died. Not too long after. My bad. And all I could say when the news got out was, damn, well, at least she's resting now. And everybody got mad at me.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Because everybody else thought that it was such a mean thing for me to do. To sit back and go, man, when you see some people and they're in this state of array, it's so bad that it's like, you can't fuck up your life anymore worse than where you at. You know what I'm saying? To the point where you're like, damn. Yeah. Sometimes, it's like people pass on and you're like, oh, what a loss. But then there's some people you go, man, if they lived a bit longer, they could have probably burned more up, in a way. And it's not a bad thing, but it's a bad thing. And then you have to sit back and people go, well, that's really unsensitive. And I say, see, once you learn that, that outside of a few miracles, we're just dirt and water. And that's the reason why, if you believe in a creator, all it's done is realizing that, well, you get pain, suffering, and death, but it's such a generation that unless you do the reincarnation, the whole game is energy and how you just play around with it because you're just an experiment of it, and you only get a choice in the midst of your choices how you want to do, but you still have to, there's no such thing as conflict. It's all growth is painful. And change is just as much painful, but we're in a planetary rotation in the earth that's creating a whole new thing that's just about as new as all of the shit that we are trying to get rid of, the whole last before Christ. We're past that now. 33 years from now, they'll start going and go for the next 26,000 years. Yeah. In the midst of everything else, 2/3 of us are all basking in a very unique era of time where too many random, insignificant people have access to too many affordable consequences and repercussions. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That in a lot of cases, when people say you should have stayed on the yard or you should have stayed in this, you can't tell people none of that. Like, how, little Jimmy keeps putting his hand on the stove because he likes the pain. Now you don't catch that because you're not into this whole lifestyle thing to be able to at least identify that then more than sit back and going, you just bad. You always just want to do something to know. Well, if if he knew the difference, he might not have turned out to have been bad because, people think that they need to act up to get a spanking. But too many people like the feeling of a spanking.
I like spanking.
The problem is that for people who like that rough stuff, they're not cognizant of trying to be able to get that out of someone unless they just literally take that person to the edge of paranoia or anarchy. You know what I'm saying? And yet nobody can blame them for it because nobody can teach them from the get-go. Now, baby. Baby, I got a full BDSM unbelievable wish list.
I like my paddle.
That's good. Everybody has a certain...
favorite.
When I first started the BDSM thing and whatnot, I was like that. I only needed a couple of things. And when I was taught it initially from a sadist position, they told me that a good sadist is just like somebody, is like MacGyver. Mm-hmm. There's never a place you cannot find the needed things. Yeah. And there lies me.
Is that because their mind is always
That's because there's more people who are naturally like that.
Oh.
That there are people who are.
Is it because stuff happened to them?
No, it's because there are more people needed to be them than there are people who like people who are them. And most of the complaints are not just the complaints that they exist, but the complaints that they have to be that kind of a person when they could have been a better that kind of person. There will never be a day that nobody wants to have a better slave master unless you're ready to be a master. And you have to earn that in order for you to have a understanding. There's some people have a certain amount of rather one or the other. You want to work for somebody or you want to work for yourself. If you want to work for yourself, then you want to be a master. You want to be a master of your own thing. And there's no such thing as a master of none when you have to master so many other things, because the more you master, the more you know. And it's in the other thing that people are unaware of because we're still using that back math. Like you're an Uncle Tom. No, you're a Sambo. Sambo was the bad guy. Uncle Tom was the best thing on there. But when you talk to a person who's triggered like that, that's post-traumatic slave syndrome. There were so many things watching at a certain point in time where cocaine changed the culture of everyone, not because it was something that everybody did, but it was because it's something that did change everybody. And it was in our money in 1987.
Yeah, I know.
To such a degree, that was Iran-Contra and the whole nine. And not knowing that at that time they were preparing for something that we didn't see until 2021 when we had 9/11. And 9/11 was so predicted that if they knew what was about to happen in 2001, or at least kind of it was going to come soon, then them trying to stick themselves into a better thing was best known in 1997. You know what I'm saying? Or 87. So 87. I was 2 years out of being in the Marine Corps at the time. And I was back at a point where I was real struggling because some people are like, you should be a cop. Some people are like, you should go work for Raytheon. Or some people are like, you should be a DJ or be a... and no, but I could do all of it. I ended up making it to D.C. I've been here since 2002. Right after 9/11. 9/11, I was on my way back with the band gear from Gladys Knight from London, Ontario. We were just driving through the country as that shit was about to happen, to the point where right before we got home, it happened. And by the time that I got back home to Atlanta, my whole entire life changed. You know what I'm saying? The last thing that I did in Atlanta is found out that I was probably by far one of the only black guys in Atlanta that was kosher enough to be trustworthy when the president finally decided to make the first speech to the rest of the world and everything after 9/11. And it sucked because it never meant anything more to people afterwards. It still was a trigger. My name and everything, to the point when I got to D.C., they couldn't even say my name because my name is spiritually one of the 99 names of Allah. And so some people just as Hafiz. But it's not spelled like everybody else spells it. It's spelled easy. But when you say easy, people think of you like Easy. And I'll never forget 2022. Cokehead Ricky called me Easy for the first time. And exactly.
You have a lot of energy.
Dear,
Are you going to use some money?
I would love to. So with that being said, I've sufficiently answered this question?
Yes.
Okay, enough. And all right, you have a good one.